Good morning. We are live. Good morning, primary years parents. My name is Emmanuel Gauthier. I am the head of the primary, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all on this call. A little bit of technicalities, everyone. This is a Zoom call. However, it's more like a presentation. So I would advise you to double click on the Zoom SISD screen, so you can see the full screen of what's happening here on stage and behind me on the screen here. And also, just to reassure you, we are recording this. You can pass on the message to relatives and friends. We're recording this event, and we will also be sharing the PDF of this PowerPoint to all. So there are a couple of slides that are text heavy. You will have the leisure to read them after the event. So the aim of today is to meet the leadership team and actually also to meet the Parent Forum Committee. So presenting today will be myself, and then we'll have Shona Gustaldi, my deputy head, and then Marlo Narch, who's representing the Parent Forum Committee. So our intentions are to present who we are and what we do, and also present a couple of our values in particular. And I know people really are keen to know a little bit more, or to discover, maybe if you're new joining parents, about bilingualism and co-teaching. And also, obviously, and Shona is definitely the right person for that, we'll talk about the IBPYP as well. So here we are. This is the team. I might be a little bit more mobile and move from here. Hello again. Thank you. Right. So this is the primary leadership team. So again, this is me, Emmanuel, head of primary school. Shona is my closest collaborator, and you will meet her this morning. She's the deputy head of primary school. She's also, yet again, that very important role. She carries the load of being the PYP coordinator in our IB school. Very important. Two new joiners, lovely, very pleased to have them in our team this year, is Samantha Hodges, who is the well-being coordinator. Now, Sam, I will tell you a little bit more about what she does, but she's not new to the school. She's been here for over 5 years, and she's held already positions of responsibility, and we are very pleased that she's joining us this year as in the leadership team. And Jacobus Delou, Jacob to most of us, is the academic and innovation coordinator. Now, there are two other members of staff who are very important to our leadership team, and one of which is the lady who's often sending you those emails on my behalf. You are also contacting her, parents, when you have any queries, and this is Jennifer de la Cruz. Now, Jennifer holds many roles, but her official title is Primary School Secretary. She's also definitely my personal assistant, and I would be at lost if she wasn't around every day. Busy and very kind lady. Jennifer is part of the leadership team for sure. And a very important person as well in the school, of course, is the child protection officer. So Shona George, who joined us from Repton actually this year, is having two hats here. So she's the whole school child protection officer. And that's a very important role. This is, child safety is paramount. This is the most important aspect of any educational organization. So she holds that hat. But in primary, she's also part of the leadership team as the school counselor. She's early years and primary years school counselor. She's a lovely but very busy lady as well, dealing and talking to children and advising parents as well on occasion. So Shona George is part of our team. Now, what do we do? So this is a little bit of my job scope and what I do. In a sense, I am responsible and representing our over 600, almost 650 students in primary school from grades 1 to grade 5, and all the members of staff, and that's about 120 members of staff as well. And I am part of the senior leadership team, of the management team, and we look at whole school matters as well. As I said, Shona is my closest collaborator, and Shona does help me with everything, and Shona has complete oversight in primary or of all academic and pastoral matters as well. And in a minute also, she will present herself a little bit more. And she is the PYP coordinator. Shona opened the school, literally. A lot of the policies, a lot of the practices we have in our school were actually literally created by Shona. So she's an asset to our school and definitely a great, great support to me. I am well supported again this year. I'm lucky to have expanded my leadership team with the addition of Sam, as I mentioned before, Samantha Hodges. She's the well-being coordinator. As such, Samantha is looking after any pastoral matters and the well-being of the children. Her priority is the children. She's the lady in meetings when we talk so much about academic matters who will draw us back and say, all right, let's consider also the well-being of all, and of course, particularly the children. She's also, bless her, responsible for a lot of the logistical issues in our school. And these days, with the recent health and sanitary protocols, she's also really helping us and literally running the practicalities, running the school in terms of the sittings and the transition times and the dining room. So a big, big and very important role for Samantha. And finally joining us this year, and he was a new teacher last year with a particular interest in innovation, and it was shining already as a teacher, grade 5 teacher last year. And Jacobus is now the academic and innovation coordinator. One of our values is sustainability, and excellence is also one of the values. And Jacob is trying to help us with this and making the STEAM provision as well. We're going to talk about bilingualism, but parents, you know, we also have an IB STEAM stream, and Jacob is particularly responsible for this. Anything innovative as well. He's also heading the distance learning scheme, which is important to some of our parents as well, some of our families. And Jacob is also about to embark on a very busy adventure, organizing all things related to Expo 2020. Heads up, parents, every single child in primary should, if everything goes well, inshallah, as we say, visit the Expo, and Jacob will be organizing this. So Jacob and Samantha are still teachers as well. They have teaching roles. So that's very relevant and very important for us in the primary leadership team, that the members are also teachers. Now, we are, in turn, very well supported by our middle leadership team. We call these people, and with the PLT, they're part of the primary extended leadership team. And we've got great coordinators, and you will have received by now an email from them, a video from them as well, introducing themselves. So these people oversee the well-being, the welfare, and academic matters in each grade. These are the grade coordinators. And I would encourage you to reach out to them if you have anything to discuss that goes a little bit beyond the teacher. Very interesting to consider our lines of communication. It's an opportunity for me to reiterate that our intentions are that the communication always starts with the teachers first. It will be very interesting first to go to the teachers before raising the flag with Shona or with me. And then if you do not get the matter resolved or are not particularly pleased with the matter, or you want more information, you can then raise it up to the grade coordinators. We are also very lucky to have a very comprehensive team of specialist teachers in primary. This is one of the assets of our school, specialist teaching in languages, in Arabic and Islamic studies, in sports, in the arts as well. And we have specialist coordinators as well. And these people are responsible for looking after that particular aspect of specialism in our teaching. So again, from grade 1, your children will be taught by specialist teachers. I think we did the math the other day. Your children from grade 1 may have access to about 9 teachers, 9 different teachers, in addition to their 2 teachers. Now, today also, what we wanted to present are our values and what we are doing every day. So, you know, our mission is inspiring excellence. This is the whole school mission, is to inspire excellence. And our 4 values, bilingualism, excellence, sustainability, and together, are at the key of what we do. Everything we do is about enriching the students' learning and daily life in a school. But all of this is definitely underpinned by our 4 values. And really, again, from communications with you, I think most parents would like to know a little bit more about a couple of them. And I intend to present bilingualism today in our unique school. Now, the way we do bilingualism in our school it's definitely unique. The actual structure of it, which I will present to you now, is pretty unique, as it's not really done in other schools. There are different reasons for this. Some of them are related to human resourcing, for example, but having 2 teachers in a class, for example, is very rare in our context, and it's also very rare potentially in the world. So this is our value, and we promote multiculturalism. And sometimes I feel that bilingualism is a little bit reductive. You know, it's not only about bilingualism, it's multilingualism and multiculturalism as well. It's not all about the languages, it's important, but it's also about the culture as well. Now, this is accessible. It is also on the website. And as I said, you probably cannot read this, but I will try to explain how we do bilingualism or the different streams in primary. So again, from grade 1 to grade 5, this is the primary school. And we have 2 streams in blue on there. So IB bilingual English-French and IB bilingual English-German. Now, for grades 1, 2, and 3, we have 2 teachers in the class, co-teachers. And in a few slides, I will go a little bit more deep in terms of explaining the co-teaching. So 2 teachers all the time in the class teaching the core subjects. We'll talk about the dynamics and mechanism of these in a second. In that stream again, in the bilingual stream, in grades 4 and 5, we have an immersion system. This means that it goes from a week A to a week B, where the children are immersed in a French classroom, let's say on a week A, and everything is in French then. And on a week B, everything would be in English, for example, and the same for the German stream, a week A, all German, and a week B, all English. So that is the immersion in grade 4 and 5. In addition, in yellow at the bottom of this graph, we've got the IB STEAM. So again, IB on the pins as well, everything that we do. And STEAM is our, let's say, monolingual plus. For those of you who are returning parents, this is what we used to refer to as the English plus. So the core subjects are taught in English. Most of the subjects are taught in English with an increased language acquisition program in French or in German. So 5 lessons in grades 1, 2, 3, and 6 lessons in grades 4 and 5. Two of which are co-taught in STEAM lessons. Now, STEAM is a very important development in education, is the buzzword these days in education. And this is hands-on activities linked to technology, of course, but also the arts. The STEAM and not STEM is also the arts. Science, technology, engineering, arts, and math as well, in addition to the core subjects that are taught discretely as well. And this is really also very important in terms of transdisciplinary practice. And in the latest social media post, you will see that regularly we post STEAM, posts about STEAM. There was one yesterday, I think, about grade 3. Lovely, what's happening in STEAM. And again, 2 of these lessons also taught with the language teacher. This is called Content Language Integrated Learning. So many acronyms, the CLIL. And that's where the students learn the language whilst learning a subject. Very not revolutionary, but actually research-based practice that we do at our school as well. Now, it's interesting to consider bilingualism, and it's interesting to consider learning a language. And this is someone who's called, I think it's Ian Cummins from South Africa, a linguist who's presenting the iceberg, and you know how we say about the tip of the iceberg and what's happening under the water. And this is a bit the same when you learn a language. Very quickly, your children, whether they are in the IB STEAM stream or in the IB bilingual stream, will acquire those basic interpersonal communication skills. What this means is they're going to be able to communicate very quickly. Rather quickly, they will be able to manipulate, to use about 2,000 words. And that's going to get them those communication skills. It's the familiar content as well. It's low pressure. We're not talking yet highly cognitive ability and academics, but your children will very quickly pick up that type of language. Then that takes about, honestly, after 6 months, you know, parents who are new joiners do not despair yet if after 3 weeks or 2 weeks now, oh, my child cannot yet speak perfect French or perfect German or perfect English for that matter. We're not there yet. It takes between 6 months to 2 years already, depending on so many different aspects. May I drop in there? Team, you know, togetherness is one of our values, and the triangular relationship between the school, the students, and the parents and home is so important, especially in language learning. The parent support is so important. You don't have to be native, you don't have to be fluent parents, but your intentions and your stamina are very important, your commitment as well, and your encouragement and positivity. Very important, parents. Then we talk about the CALP. Now this is a little bit more advanced, and cognitive academic language proficiency. It does require time, and 5 years is not a certain science, but between 2 and 5 years, the children will get to that level. And an interesting point there. So they will be able to function at a high level cognitively. They will be able to function and do those advanced math problems, or those advanced, you know, more advanced linguistically advanced problems. Now, an interesting one to know is when your children start making jokes. A sense of humor means that you're starting really to master the language. And I know that a lot of you on this call and a lot of us here are multilingual, and you know that when you can make that joke in the other language, you're starting to really master it. What I intend to present here is that, again, time, commitment, stamina is important in language learning. Okay, a lot is done in the classroom. Many techniques are applied. A lot of support is done from the teachers, from the educational team, from the leadership team. But your involvement is so important, parents, and thank you for those who are joining the call this morning. Now, a few myths and truths, and I know Shona is going to talk about this as well a bit later about the IB, but often after a few weeks, as I said, the parents start to say, oh, wow, my child is now behind their little cousin who lives in Germany or in Switzerland, or they don't speak French as well as, okay? It's interesting to consider that bilingualism is not monolingualism plus monolingualism. A bilingual child has a range of tools and also many words. You know, the word count I mentioned earlier on about the 2,000 words. If you count a bilingual child's number of words, that if you add both the number of words they know, let's say in English and in German, actually their total account potentially will be superior to a monolingual child. So that's how we should consider a bilingual child. A very interesting point is about the children getting the language confused. I am also a father of bilingual children, and I am bilingual. And again, as I said, a lot of us are multilingual or bilingual. We do code switching. I'll tell you, when I speak to my wife, who's also a teacher, we use mostly French, but many work-related terminology is in English. We talk about le curriculum, for example. Now, this is normal and actually an asset. It's great. It shows intelligence, to be fair, from the children when they do this. And it also shows that they are able to use words and concepts, all the words and concepts, and Shona will talk about concepts later, that they have in their armor. So This is actually natural, and as I said, most of us on this call will know that this is natural. It's nothing to be reprimanded. It's okay. There's a term here also in this little visual that's called translanguaging. Now, translanguaging is the faculty to use the most familiar language to do some, for example, some academic research. It is okay at the end of a unit, the children have to do a summative task, and we ask them potentially to present most of the time in 2 languages, but it is okay for them to do their research in French if they find it easier, and then to present in English. That's a superb skill to have. You know, again, more weapons in your bag if you want. So translanguaging is okay. Code switching is okay. It is encouraged. In our school, we celebrate this. If a child speaks to me in a bit of English and French, fantastic, great. They are using all they have and their cognitive ability to communicate. This is not to be reprimanded. And the research is proving that separating, segregating the two languages is actually counterproductive. It is okay to use different languages in the same sentence. There is a point, of course, where that grammar, that very key grammar in French particularly, is so important. We're going to get there. This is the caps we're talking about. But at when they start learning, the young learners, it is absolutely fine and encouraged to use all they have, all the linguistic tools that they have to communicate. Now, definitely, one of the myths is that it will confuse them, of course, the children who are multilingual or bilingual, and it will also impact their cognitive ability, their ability to function at a high level, academically in particular. Absolutely wrong, and this is obviously the opposite. And I think most of us would know this. A little bit of research on bilingualism would show you that, in fact, your children are more flexible when they are bilingual, and it develops. I'm not a science teacher, but it develops some parts of your brain that actually will allow you to access so many other ability. Also, not to actually forget that speaking more than one language also gives you a different point of view about the culture of another country or other countries. And that's also definitely an added bonus. Of course, the linguistic ability is important, but actually the social and cultural benefits are extremely, extremely important. And that's part of our values in our school as well. And again, in line with this, some may say that bilingualism will impact your child's academic success. Again, a recent research actually, which got started in the 90s and the noughties, I think we say, for 2000 in China, and then more recently in Europe as well, and in the States actually, where bilingualism is very important too, that the bilingualism over time, those children who are bilingual outperform in math, for example, that study was proving in math. It's a bit of a curve where the progress line suddenly shoots up after a few years, and those children catch up the potential slow start they had. And again, the parents of bilingual children may know that. I experienced that personally. Our children develop their language a little bit later. So when you're in the family with the relatives or your friends, say, oh, my child can already speak, and mine couldn't. But now they've caught up for sure. They speak 2 or 3 languages now, and it takes a bit more time, but that curve is going really right. That progress line is going very quickly high after time. So multilingualism is a gift for sure. Now, one of the values, as I said, is togetherness. And in togetherness, how it is epitomized in our school, I want to talk about the co-teaching. Many questions. Just a heads up, everyone. We'll talk to Marlo a little bit later, who's going to present the Parent Forum Committee. On the 7th of October, the parent reps, the class parents, will have a meeting with the primary leadership team and Marlo as well. And we will talk a little bit more about such concepts as well. So a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more advanced maybe on this. This is just potentially an introduction for most. Now, togetherness and co-teaching. So practically, how does it work? And I will just show you 3 or 4 slides, okay? But how does it work? So In the bilingual stream on the left side of the screen, in grades 1, 2, and 3, you have the 2 teachers, and they teach the core subjects together. It's actually beautiful to see what's happening there. The dynamics are important. I'll give you a bit of my personal top 10s in a minute, okay, of what's happening in the classroom, what's the best thing about co-teaching. And the language arts, however, because some of the parents have approached us before and they say, okay, if everything is in bilingual, how do we learn about that particular grammar in German or in French or even in English, actually? It must be noted that the language arts, some of the language lessons still follow some kind of a priority. Let's say on a week A, the priority in terms of language learning, in terms of linguistic and syntax and grammar, will be given to one of the languages on a week A, and on a week B, it will be given to the other one. However, everything is taught bilingually. The IB's team, 1 teacher and 1 TA, so we still have 2 adults in the class, and the core subjects are taught in English. This is but then we got enhanced approaches to language learning with from a young age. Actually, this is also happening in early years. We're talking primary here, but it's also happening in early years with the French acquisition language and German acquisition language teachers. And as I explained a bit before, the STEAM lessons are co-taught, so an access to language and to that CLIL I was mentioning. It's interesting to note that recently, and parents, I'm addressing this today because I know you've asked me that question before, more and more of our specialist teachers are bilingual as well. For example, this year in PE, our PE teachers are able to speak French and German. We are able to give access also to the children to multilingualism in lessons, in music as well, for example. We have a speaker, an English, German speaker as well. So that's interesting. We are recruiting to that effect. We are also needing the best music teachers we can get. If they are bilingual, multilingual, that's an asset, okay? And we are really definitely looking into that in our recruitment process. In grades 4 and 5, sometimes we refer to them as the upper primary. At the moment, we have the 2 teachers. Each class will have access to 2 teachers, 2 TAs, and 2 classes. This is the immersion I was talking about. The week A, all in English, let's say, and the week B, all in German. And it's flip-flopping every week. The program is important, the quick question. The program is not repeated, of course. And this is part of togetherness and collaboration and co-teaching. We tell the teachers in grades 4 and 5, they still have a co-teacher. They collaborate daily, of course, but also they collaborate when they're planning. All of this is so important. The planning is so important. And a lot of planning, I'll tell you, is happening in our school. At planning stage, the teachers sit together as teams, of course, but also particularly as co-teachers to make sure that the program flows on from a week A to a week B. And in grade 4 and 5, the IB's team replicates really what's happening in grades 1, 2, and 3. Now, how does it work in the class? Now, here we're just presenting 7 different models, okay? And we are Shona particularly is leading on that front. If you remember, Anne Osborne was also doing a lot of research on this. I am reading on this as well. All of our teachers, by the way, who are IB trained and trained on co-teaching as well. We present often 7 different models where it could be one teacher leads and the other one supports, or they're co-teaching, or the children do some carousel of activities, or maybe a lot of group work is happening. Sometimes the teachers are able to extract those 7 who need a little bit support in math and in French, or maybe those 6 who need a little bit of a push in French to actually stretch them a little bit more, and in science, for example. So there are 7 different models, but the reality and the dynamics mean that we often refer to them as the 70 different models. There are so many different ways of co-teaching. And again, as Shona keeps on telling us and the teachers, it's all about the planning. And personalized planning is so important. Each child is considered individually so that we address their needs best, both linguistically, still one of our values, remember, but also cognitively, so that they get the knowledge. But to get the knowledge, they need to be able to access the language. So it's a constant constant discussion and constant practice that improves matters. Now, to end on this presentation, brief on co-teaching, and more questions might come from the parents reps. And again, Marlo will present a little bit later how best to become potentially a class rep, class parent, and meet with the PLT later. This co-teaching, actually, those of you who are new joiners, was introduced in early years. I'm going to say 5 years ago. Shona, yes, 5 years ago. And based on that success and the research, actually, that we have, what we have done and carried, and on our readings and our webinars and seminars, this is something that we got a lot of access to during this lockdown period. We were able to access so many research and webinars. We decided to introduce it to grades 1 and 2 last year and to grade 3 this year. And we're contemplating, let's say, thinking about grades 4 and 5 in the future. What we have noted last year, now this is what's happening in the class, there is a significant reduction of any pastoral issues. And this is linked to point number 2. You have 2 teachers, remember, all the time. Those parents who are on the call here and who've been here with us for a little while, some of you, not all hopefully, might remember that Saturday evening stress. Oh, it is French week tomorrow, or it is the German week tomorrow. And on occasions, the children were a bit apprehensive and nervous to begin with. Then matters would just solve themselves thanks to everybody's work. But actually, potentially, the children were a little bit apprehensive. Now, this is not happening anymore. It's also the consistency of having 2 referent teachers. It does happen. It does happen. Having 2 teachers, yes, some of the children might have an affinity, a special relationship with one of the 2 teachers, remember, who is always in the class. So that's really very important. And I would love to tell you, number 1 is, of course, linguistically, the children have developed beautifully with coaching. Yes, they have, but really the best impact, the most important impact, remember, top of our agenda is well-being and wellness, was that the children are not stressed about these week A, week B anymore. They are comfortable, therefore, in the environment, but they are stretched as well. Personalization, this is key. Now, in terms of academics, personalization. Again, 2 teachers, 2 professionals, qualified teachers looking at your child. The student-to-teacher ratio has been definitely reduced for sure. And those professionals are talking, they're observing the children, they're working with them. As I said, they personalize the learning in their planning stage and in their practice as well. They know exactly what needs are the children, needing, sorry. But that's very important. The collaboration between teachers, representing one of our values, has been heightened, of course, and again, it produces the result, you know. And just to consider, I mentioned this two or three times already, in our home, everyone, a lot of us are coming from different origins, I've got different languages as well. It does replicate what's happening at home very often. And that's natural, and it's beautiful to see. It's beautiful to see. Very soon, everyone, we hope we're going to be able to open those doors and you can see what's happening. It's beautiful to see how the children address the English teacher in English, and they switch suddenly in German for the German teacher, and then they go back to English again. Absolutely beautiful. Again, this is probably what's happening at home, and that is bilingualism. Bilingualism is not necessarily everything has to be in French for so many hours, and then suddenly, oh, we switch off and we go all in English. That's not what the research tells us. And the code switching and translanguaging I alluded to is just happening. It's fluid. And that's, again, that's what I've just mentioned, actually. It is beautiful. So brief introduction about 2 of our special values and how they are represented in our schools. So bilingualism and togetherness with the co-teaching in particular. Now we're going to welcome Shona onto the stage, who's going to take over and tell us a little bit more about the IB and PYP.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's lovely to have you all tuning in. It's a little bit bizarre to be talking to an empty auditorium, so hello, everyone. My name is Shona Gustaldi. I have been at the school since it opened. I actually joined SISD the February before we opened the school doors. So I've really been here since the beginning, establishing the PYP, our bilingualism, and all of our core values. And I live for this school, and my heart is very much in it, and I've loved to see it grow over the years. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time now explaining the PYP and how it works at SISD. We have been an accredited IB PYP school since 2018, and in 2022, we will be going through our PYP evaluation. So that is where external bodies come into the school, whether it's virtually or physically, and they evaluate us based on standards given to us by the IB. So we're very excited about that for next year. Now, as you can see here, I put a picture of the IB learner profile. I think that is, as a parent, that is one of the most important things you can understand about what we are trying to achieve with your children. These 10 attributes are in everything that we do. They connect to our core values as a school, and they actually run from pre-K up to grade 12. So we're always coming back to the learner profile. And being a parent myself, I would love to see my child becoming knowledgeable, balanced, caring, a risk taker. All of these attributes are so valuable. I'm not going to read this to you, but when you get the PDF sent to you this afternoon, just take some time to have a look over the mission statement that we have here that is taken from the IB PYP. So there are some important words I would really like to highlight. Inquiring and knowledgeable, and caring. So those are the three main standing attributes of the learner profile. Yes, we want our children to ask questions. We want them to wonder. We want them to research. We want them to gain facts and understanding. But we're holistic, and we're trying to create caring young individuals. There's also, just in a few lines down, I want to highlight the word rigorous. A myth sometimes, not so much now, but from definitely used to be when we opened the school. I think the perceptions of the IB have grown over the years, but there used to be a myth that the PYP wasn't rigorous and it allowed children to just do whatever they wish. Whilst we are student-centered and we alter and cater to our student needs and their interests, yes, we are rigorous, and we have high expectations of our children, our teachers, and our community as well. And lastly, something important, I think, is compassionate, lifelong learners. And that is something that we have to be as teachers. We have to be role models for the children as well. So I always say to our teachers, we're never done. You're never done learning. I'm considered the IB expert in our school and in our community, and I am still learning. And something about that as well for you to know as parents are all of our new teachers who joined the school in August gave up a lot of time in their summer to attend training with the PYP and do some professional reading to make sure that they were prepared and ready with your children to be an IB educator from day one. So you can see here a lot of the aspects that are in the mission statement were actually used to inform our 4 core values of bilingualism, excellence, sustainability, and together. Now, I was going to go into the theory of the IB and all the research that goes into the program itself, but actually we don't really have time for it. But I also understand as a parent myself, I would just like to know, what does it look like and what is actually happening in the classroom? So I'm just going to share 7 points, which are a quick guide to PYP learning and what you can expect as a parent. So the first one is learning intentions are often posed as a question rather than a statement. You might be used to your child talking about I can statements or I can add 2-digit numbers. Instead, we like to pose questions to them. You know, what strategies can we use to add 2-digit numbers? That question immediately gets the children thinking, and we want our children to be thinkers at all times. Second one, we have an increased emphasis on student-to-student interaction. So less of what we're doing today, where the teacher stands up at the front and talks for 40 minutes. That idea has gone, not just in the PYP, but across education today. So we really place an emphasis on students interacting with each other and sharing with each other, explaining, reflecting, giving each other feedback as well. So it's less about what the teacher says and more about what the students are saying and doing. And the teacher is really acting as a facilitator in the classroom. There's a big emphasis on critical questioning and open-ended questions. So a child might say, you know, I know the dates of a significant event that's happened in history, and I know what it was like. It's the teacher's job to ask that child and support that child to reflect on, well, how do you know that? Or why do you think that? Or how might this look in a different way? So we really are asking our children to think critically and giving them the skills to be able to do that. One of my favorite parts about the PYP is turning knowledge into action. Okay, so you know that there are 6 types of health. For example, in grade 3, they are learning about health and well-being, and they're inquiring into all 6 types of health. Excellent, you know them, you know what they look like, you can define them, but what are you going to do with that knowledge? And I know, for example, our grade 3 teachers are already planning for children to become experts in health and bring that to the community and each other. So they're going to take action with their new knowledge and their new understandings. Increased personalization and student choice. We used to have this word differentiation. It's evolved into personalization. So we really place an emphasis on what individual children need and what they're interested in. For example, in grade 1, they are learning about the school community and roles and responsibilities. Instead of the teacher saying, okay, these are all the different roles we have in our class, the children are creating their own jobs and their own roles within the classroom. A lovely example I saw even this morning in grade 1 is one child has the job to be the noise monitor. And whenever it gets too loud, she rings a bell and the rest of the class stop and they reflect on how noisy they're being and the volume goes down. What a wonderful example of student agency and student choice and responsibility as well. So we place an emphasis on learning and what the students are experiencing. When I work with teachers every week, so I go to meetings with every grade level every week and I support them with their planning. I'm also delivering a form of professional development for our teachers. We talk about what the children will do, as opposed to what will you do as a teacher, what will the teaching assistant do, what will the parents do. We really focus on what the children will do and what they will experience and how they will experience it. And lastly, the PYP is a concept-based program. And a very simple way to understand that is an example of, instead of learning about dinosaurs as a topic, we learn about extinction. Or instead of learning about insects or mini beasts, which I know is a topic in the early years, we actually learn about living things. And my last example is, instead of memorizing the Swiss cantons, the children learn about territories and how that looks on a global scale. So that is my 7 tips or guides for you to understand how the PYP looks in the classroom for your child. I'm looking forward to working with Marlo and not yet, and the class reps on understanding the PYP in a lot more depth. And hopefully we can have another session where I can share a bit more about the theory with you. And all of that is, and that vision of the PYP is so valuable. What holds equal value is our curriculum and our expectations of the students. So yes, it's a holistic program. So knowledge is just as valuable as well-being. As parents, I understand that you want to, you bring your own experience of education. So you want to know, well, what are they learning? So here we have an outline of our benchmarking. So the PYP gives us standards and we are expected to supplement those standards and benchmark them according to the needs of our students. So you can see here, for example, our French curriculum has been benchmarked against the Plan d'études Roman from Switzerland. For example, our math curriculum is actually triple benchmarked against the LER plan from Switzerland, the English national curriculum, and the standards of the PYP. We've worked hard over the last 6 years to really ensure a high quality curriculum for the children. and that it's rigorous and true to the IB mission statement. So lastly, before I hand over to Marlo, who's going to explain what more you can do as a parent, how can you support your child? There are some very important points here. First of all, the learner profile. It was the number one thing I started with, and I think it's something I should end with. These attributes are so meaningful, and they're used in every lesson with every child in every class. So if you can start using them at home, that will make those home and school links a lot stronger. Always support your child to openly communicate with their teacher. Our teachers are wonderful human beings. They're very kind, caring, and reflective. We ask them to live this learner profile. So they are ready for your child to come to them with anything that they need. A usual example is homework. My child brought their homework home and they can't do it. They're really struggling. Before you go to the teacher, ask your child to openly communicate with their teacher to tell them, I did this homework at home and I find it too challenging, or I find it too easy and I want more challenge. The more you can prepare your child for that open communication, the better. The third point is a bit of a funny one. Respect student ownership of the learning process. Any projects that go home, our teachers don't want to see what you can do as parents. They don't want to see your dioramas. They don't want to see your projects. Anything that comes from home, let's keep it on the students and keep it student focused. And lastly, if you have any expert knowledge to share, so for example, in grade 2, they're doing a unit right now on structures. If you're an architect, you might get in touch with the grade 2 team and share your knowledge, because our children can learn so much from you as parents. And finally, probably the most important one, celebrate progress. If your child didn't know any English on day 1 and now they're saying good morning, that is progress. And that is amazing. And we should be celebrating that no matter how big or small within our community. If your child is doing something exciting outside of school, share it with us, share it with the teachers. That does relate to our idea of excellence as well. And we're always happy to celebrate with you. Okay, I'm going to pass on now to Marlo, and thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Marlo. Thank you so much to Emmanuel and Shona for this wonderful presentation. It's very eye-opening to me, even though I've been a parent here since the very beginning. It's lovely to see how our school has grown and our community has grown. And it's just been this beautiful process and journey, and it's just really wonderful. So I'm here to represent the primary parents and the student management, or the management here, for the Parent Forum Committee. So, so what exactly is the Parent Forum Committee? We are here to foster the community and the culture to be a bridge between the management and the students and the parents. We're here to help with social issues and general school operations. We want to stay in line with all of the beautiful values that we have as a community and the school. So we're just here to really foster that sense of community and togetherness. So the role of the class parents in the classroom, I'll send this out to everybody so you can kind of see, but basically they're just here to facilitate communication between the teachers and the parents, but also between the management and the parents to the management. So we're just really here to foster this positive role between everybody and to make sure that everybody's understanding what's going on and when homework is due, or if there's something going on, you know, in the parking lot or something like that, so that we can just make sure that there's things going on. I don't think they liked that one. Just making sure that, you know, there's a really good positive communication going in and going out. So we also do other things like events in the school. So we help to make sure that you know, we know when we need volunteers for something. Hopefully that will be happening very soon. So just one last slide before I go, because I know this has been a long presentation. What is the students, the parent forum committee? So we're here to support the school. We're here to support the parents. We're here to build the bridges. We're listeners, we're communicators. We help to fundraise, and we're volunteers. The one thing that we're not is we're not a complaint center. We don't make financial decisions. We're not paid, we're volunteers. And we're not, you know, biased. So we're not biased for the school. We're not biased for the parents. We're sort of a non-biased partner. So we're here to really just facilitate. So if you'd like to stay in contact with the PFC, please do feel free to email us at pfc.sisd@gmail.com, and we're happy to help you with everything. And with that, I will hand back over to Emmanuel. Thank you so much.
Amazing. And again, epitomizes togetherness. Thank you, Marlo. Thank you, Shona, for this morning. Thank you, parents, for coming. Your involvement is so important, parent. Togetherness would not happen without you. So thank you for being on that call. It does show your dedication to making matters better and your interest in your children's learning. And we know that this is so key to everyone's success. As highlighted a little bit before by Marlo and by me earlier on the 7th of October, we will be meeting the class parents. So get involved, become a class parent, and do represent your class and your grade. We wish you now a lovely end to this day. And again, thank you to all of you who have attended this presentation. Goodbye. Thank you.